And then Phil went up on his tiptoes as high as he could go with that guitar, and he came down with it. Guitar didn't break. It blew up. It blew up like there was a grenade in it.
In this episode, we are going to be talking to someone who was on stage when the Everly Brothers had their famous breakup in 1973. But some of you might need a bit of context and not know why this moment was so important and what it meant. First off, the Everly Brothers are the most successful duo in the history of rock and roll. They had 26 top 40 hits, they were in the first class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they influenced almost everyone that came after them. Awesome, right? But the part that everyone forgets is that the Everly Brothers, Phil and Don, are real brothers. By the time they had their famous breakup, they had been playing and singing together professionally for close to 25 years at that point. They had started on the radio as children in the late 1940s, and in 1957, with the song Bye Bye Love, their career took off like a bolt of lightning. They were everywhere, all the time, touring the world over and over again. They had hit after hit after hit. In 1960, they signed the first $1 million recording contract with Warner Records, and they continued to have huge hits like Kathy's Clown and Crying in the Rain. But like all acts, there is a period of time that comes along where the next generation wants something new. And the era of the band arrived, along with the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and so many other great acts of the 1960s. The Everly Brothers kept on recording and touring all through the decade and into the next, and created some incredible music. But by then, they had been with each other professionally for over 25 years. In 1973, my father Phil was 34, and my uncle Don was 36. They had lived several lifetimes of success and struggle, and they were only in their mid-30s. But what people don't understand is that they were brothers first and foremost. But after all of their hit records, world tours, and global adulation, they found themselves with separate managers, attorneys, and separate groups of people surrounding them. I think they had kind of forgot that they had once been brothers. The business of being an Everly brother had destroyed the idea of being actual Everly brothers. So in 1973, they basically decided to take a break after one last series of shows at Knott's Berry Farm. And unfortunately, it didn't go smoothly. Several songs into the first set, and everything went south on stage in full view of the fans. So with that, I want to share an interview we did recently with Mr. Ron Coleman. He was the bass player on stage with the Everly Brothers that fateful evening. I am so thrilled and so pleased to have on as our very first guest for Vinyl History, Mr. Ron Coleman, who is an exceptional guitar player, bass player, played with absolutely everybody that's cool from the second half of the 20th century, and has also played with my father and uncle, the Everly Brothers, a hit songwriter. You've done so many things, and I'm just so thrilled to finally talk to you after all these years. And it's funny enough, we actually have met, I think, yeah. But I was probably 7 years old when we met the very first time at Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, exactly. 7 years old.
Yeah, so funny. Ron, can you tell me first where you grew up, and tell me about, what that was like?
Well, I grew up in tobacco country on Lake Erie Plantation. I think they had 4,500 farms across on the Canadian side, across from Lake Erie, all along there. Everybody had a 100-acre farm, and so it was hard work. And I started working for a living when I was 3 years old. So anyway, that's a joke.
Yeah.
But and then we did the tobacco, and then my dad got killed in 1956, and so I went on to take a body and fender apprenticeship.
Oh wow!
For 5 years, and then did that, and then once I got married and had a kid, I got a hold of a guitar, and I'd never played a guitar up until that point. And at that point, Rick Danko went with Ronnie Hawkins, and he left the band. Lee Shot, that was the name of the band. They were playing at a club called Roosevelt's, just outside of a town called Langton, Ontario. And so I had never played bass, and he went to Pilgrims in Hamilton and bought me this brand new amp and a 6-string bass. And I guess it was at that time there was only 2 in Canada. I had one, and Rick Danko had one. And it was $1,200 for it. And back then, you could buy a limousine for that. But so I went to a place called, it was in Port Dover, where Ronnie Hawkins was playing. I had to make sure that Rick Danko was going with him and leaving Lee Shot before I put out the money for that bass and that amp. And so it all went well. And I played with that for quite a while till I was 24 years old. And at that point, I decided to maybe drive truck for Mayflower Movers in Indianapolis. And a friend of mine got me my green card within 3 weeks because I said I would do that job. And when I got to the airport, I got a ticket for California. And the rest is the California history part.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What were some of the bands that you listened to as a kid, and what are the things that really inspired you?
As a kid, well, it was Frank Sinatra and them guys as I was a kid coming up. And then, we always went to bluegrass music because we liked the harmonies and stuff like that. Bluegrass music, you could drive 100 miles an hour to bluegrass music, and the rest of it, you could do 45 or 50. But when rock and roll came out, when that started, that's when the cars really felt good at that point. And I'm telling you, we'd do 100 miles an hour on the way home after we had done everything that day. And it was, it took away from the bluegrass. But, I guess who all was the first one? Jerry Lee Lewis was one of the first ones. Of course, I always listened to all them years. Well, Hank Williams stuff was on. That was a real McCoy for me. And then all the other acts, Johnny Cash, that was a wonderful thing. Yeah, so that type of stuff,
Did you ever chance to meet Bill Monroe?
No, I didn't. But I know getting back to the other thing, the Everly Brothers was one of the big ones. I mean, a lot of things happened to me. I went to sleep and I had to explain, what it was to the people. And that record, it just hit. Could have been Kathy's Clown. I don't know. Mm. But one of them anyway, everybody kidded me about it because the same thing happened to me and I had to make an explanation to the people. But, so anyway, yeah, the Everly Brothers, they were large.
And so is there anybody in particular that
jumped out there at me?
Yeah.
Well, the years, I was going to talk about the years 55, 56, 57, coming on up in through there. Mm-hmm. And my brother had seen Don and Phil in a town called Barrie, Ontario. I never seen it. They're on, you wouldn't believe it. And they've got their hair over their ears. So that was the first of that,
What did you think about Elvis? What were your thoughts on Elvis growing up?
Elvis? Well, I hated him. So did a lot of other guys. Because all the girls loved him, And that was taken away from us, so he could just take his music and go wherever he wanted to with it. I'll listen to the Everly Brothers. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's so funny. And then, and obviously after that early period, the Beatles became part of everybody's kind of world in that way. What were your thoughts on the Beatles when they came out?
Well, I liked the Beatles when they first came out. I mean, I never got a chance to really do a lot of their music because I was playing in country bars. And to do a Beatles song would be just about as bad as to do a Bob Dylan song. So, they turned their back on all that stuff. You ain't going to play that rock shit, are you? This was the thing. And I just went right ahead. I never stopped. I played it, whether they liked it or not. I mean, there was at that point when I came out to California, they still had the net in front of the stage in some of the clubs. So when they're throwing the beer bottles, the net would catch them. You know about that probably. Anyway, so
I do, but tell me an example of that, because I love to hear about it.
The first legitimate band I would say that I got in. Well, I got in a thing called the Brothers Grimm with a guy named Woody Coleman at that time, and I was working at Keys to Music and doing body and fender work. I was doing about 4 jobs a day at that time. I was teaching kids how to play guitar, and I was selling guitars. And at 9:00 we'd go play a gig. I'd get up the next morning and go to work, and that was a routine. And then I met Jerry Cole, and he knew every standard ever wrote by the time he was 6 years old. That was a story on Jerry Cole. And then we started playing a lot of uptown gigs, and I learned all of the standards and all that stuff that was going on. So that helped a lot. So that's part of that stuff. Yeah, the first road gig I did was with a guy named Henson Cargill, and he had a hit song called Skip a Rope. And we were in Essex Junction, Vermont. If you watch the George Jones, Tammy Wynette movie, where they landed over there, and we were sitting in the car waiting for him to get out, and we didn't know anything about George Jones. Tammy Wynette was on the show, and guy come out carrying a guitar, and we're sitting in the Lincoln watching it, and saying, God, that guy looks like George Jones. And somebody else said, that is George Jones. They just got married that day and played that gig that night in Essex Junction, Vermont is where it was. And
Wow.
they were opening for
Wow.
us. They were opening for Henson Cargill, George Jones, and Tammy Wynette. That's that story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And obviously, eventually in the 60s, I know that you crossed paths with the Everly Brothers. And tell me about how that came about.
Well, the first time I actually got to talk to the Everly Brothers and meet the Everly Brothers was when I went to audition for the gig. That was the first time. That was the first time they seen me. Jay Lacey got me that job, and I just went over to Phil's place in Burbank and met with him, and we sat around and talked for a couple of hours, and that was about it. We didn't play any music. We didn't do anything like that. We just sat around and talked, and then next thing I know, we're on an airplane, and we're on our way to London. They still haven't heard me, and I'm going like, I wonder when that's going to happen. So then we get on a bus, and we travel up to Batley Variety Club up at the top of England, and we get on the stage. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first note they heard me play, and that's how I met the Everly Brothers and got to play in that gig.
That's incredible.
There was no rehearsal, no nothing, no talk about a rehearsal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you ever practice in between after that at all, or it was just the same thing?
No,
you just played the shows
we never ever did a rehearsal in the whole deal.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't have to.
Obviously, there was no problems. Yeah,
there was no problems. I mean, they would play. If I could see where the guitar hands were going, I never had to rehearse or anything like that. And I got so good at it, I could tell what chord they were going to by looking at the back of their hand from standing behind them. So it all worked out. That's the way it was. That's the way it was in every gig in LA. You didn't rehearse. You just went and played the gig. That's how good the players were in LA at that time.
I'm sure. And did you ever hang out with the brothers after the show, and what was that like in those days?
Yeah, because after each show, I mean, on the contract of the show, you had to serve fish and chips after the show. So we will all sit around drinking and eating fish and chips after the show. And you're eating fish and chips in England. That's high high on the hog, you would say.
What was your impression of each of them? I mean, and the differences, because I know the fans have, thought about this and studied that, but you had a lot more experience than most people did. And what was your experience, in their relationship and how they got along with you and other people?
Well, it was all great. I mean, there was a lot of rumors about a lot of things, not bad or anything like that, but I never seen anything bad in the whole deal, right up until near the end. Right up until the Marco Polo Hotel, and I think it was in Miami Beach. Phil had decided he was going to record an album while we were doing the Marco Polo Hotel. And we were there a week, at least a week, maybe 2 weeks there. And he was flying back and forth, cutting an album in LA and doing the gig at night. One of the problems that happened there was he didn't ask Don to sing harmony on any of the songs. Got Don kind of going sideways. Going kind of sideways. And I probably should wait about a year before I tell you the story. But it got bad because Phil, he was worn out by the time he got to the gig,
Yeah, of course.
And so Don knew that, and that he wasn't, getting in there where he should have been. And he got a little bit disturbed on that, to the point of where they did start. There was a little stuff going on. Flames were flying on the bandstand, and they were keeping it cool. They were really keeping it cool until they didn't keep it cool. And when they didn't keep it cool, I had decided that maybe I couldn't stand to see these guys fighting. I liked them too much. I liked the music too much. They were my brothers, and I just couldn't take that type of thing going on with this music, playing for a bunch of gangsters in the Marco Polo Hotel.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would call up a couple of really good bass players in California, and that I would just bow out. I got Don up the next morning because the flames are flying pretty good that night. I got Don up, and I said, I got 2 bass for breakfast in the morning. And I said, I got 2 bass players waiting in LA, whichever one can get to the plane first, and they can fly out in one day, and I'll just fly on back. You guys carry on, man. And Don freaked out at that. He just said, no, you can't. You can't do it. Don't leave. I said, whatever you do, don't leave. Think about it. And he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you stay here on this gig with me, I'll quit with you when we get to LA. That's what did it. That's what did it.
Wow.
Just as simple as that.
Wow.
If I'd have kept my mouth shut and never said anything about the bass players, and if I just could have got through that one day. But it was like it was heart rendering, and I was afraid there was going to be a fight the next night, but which turned out to be there wasn't.
Yeah.
So then we got back to L.A.
Right.
And of course the rest, and that was it. That was it, and I regret that till this day.
I know that they were gonna break up. They had kind of announced from a business point of view, but I know it still went off poorly.
We did the Knoxbury gig, and Don gave his notice on a Wednesday, okay, and we had to do until Saturday, and that was first Phil heard about the real deal was going to come down, And Don was, he just seemed so relieved that he might be able to have a chance to sing something other than the Everly Brothers songs. As simple as that. They've done them so long, for such a long time. And so then the Saturday night came along, and we were all kind of feeling pretty good. I invited my band to come and see the last show of the Everly Brothers because I was playing at the Sundance Saloon in Calabasas. I was doing that every Tuesday night, and so Don and I are Don and I and Karen are in the dressing room, and we got into the tequila, and so we drank a lot. We drank a lot without even knowing it. Without even knowing, we're sitting there talking about stuff, and he was kind of up and all this kind of crap, and so then time to go on. So then we went on, and I got up, and I passed by the tequila bottle, and it was a big tequila bottle, and there was only about an inch of tequila in the bottom of the bottle.
Wow.
And so we hit the stage, and when I got up there, I was able to lean against my amp. I mean, I was drank as much as he did. I was able to lean against my amp, and I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't know he was. I mean, a glass of water is all he needed. If he just would have had a glass of water out there on the stand.
Yeah.
But he just got cotton mouth pretty bad from the drinking, and he wasn't able to hit the notes.
Right.
And Phil was getting more pissed off, and finally Don just gave out. I don't know. It was a song so sad. I believe it was. I think about the third song. You were there. About the third song of the first set on a Saturday night, and he just kind of grabbed a hold of the microphone, and it's one of those things like a cartoon. If you see the guy go down on the floor and it turns out to be a puddle, And anyway, when that happened, this is like a thing. This is like a dance. You could do anything you wanted to with this type of thing if you were looking at it from my angle. And then Phil went up on his tiptoes as high as he could go with that guitar, and he came down with it. Guitar didn't break. It blew up. It blew up like there was a grenade in it. And at the same time, the rain curtain came down. There was a rain curtain there. So here's Don holding on to the microphone. Here's Phil up like they're busting the guitar and the rain curtain coming down at the same time, man. It was like choreographed. You could do anything you want. You could make a dance to it.
Wow. Wow.
It was really something. It was really something. I don't know if you're going to do a movie or what you might be going to do, but that's the way I seen it.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the dressing room, and Phil left.
Yeah.
And the guy came back and told Karen and I that if we didn't finish the show, we weren't gonna get paid for the whole week.
Wow.
So we got the coffee.
Yeah.
And we got the coffee going, and Don said, Don, look, you're gonna have to do it, and or we're not gonna get paid for the week. And I've got my band here from the Sundance Saloon. They're all here. And everybody, of course, had a guitar in the trunk of their car. And so we got the guys together, and Don says, "Oh, I'm not singing any Everly Brothers song."
Oh, boy.
I'll go on, but I'm not going to do any Everly Brothers songs.
Wow.
So I went, I think Bobby Carnegie was there. I got him on bass, and I went on guitar and on the other microphone. I don't know, I might have done a couple of songs. But all in all, it was the best review he had got from Hilburn in years.
Wow.
That's the way that thing worked at USEEN when you were 7 years old. Then it everybody on the bandstand had a broken heart. Everybody was real upset about what happened. But they helped us out,
Yeah, all I remember is just driving home with my dad, and I knew he was mad. I was just a kid. You knew he was just, I haven't seen my father that angry in a long time, but didn't understand, what was going on. But it's kind of funny. But I remember they used to let me in ahead of time because it was open seating. And I would sit right in front of my dad. And that night, for some reason, we got there late. And so we were in the back off to the side, and someone was hanging on to me because there was some trouble, I guess.
Oh,
and
really?
And I remember the song order. I remember the songs were out of order a little bit because I knew them, as a kid, and then something happened. And, but thank you for telling me the other part. That's just, what a time. I mean, what a story. And I know you mentioned talking to my father after the breakup and him appreciating, the way you talked about it. Can you tell us about that?
There was a lot of people telling a lot of different stories, and they wanted to do a documentary. So I was part of it. They asked me if I would come and do that, and I said I would. And then after I said what I wanted to say about Kentucky, I really wanted to get the idea of Kentucky out there because of the way they sang it. There was nothing ever like that I ever heard before or since.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't use the band. They just did it with the two guitars and the vocals. And it was really something. I'll tell you another thing. They had slowed the music down to where the harmonies lingered more. They weren't worried about whether they got the song done real fast. They were just ringing them harmonies, and it was really something to hear. Anyway,
wow,
that was
incredible.
It was one of the, and anyway, so I was done with that interview. Here's what happened. I was done with that interview, and they wanted me to talk about, like I'm talking with you, a little more about the Everly Brothers. And I said, okay, is the microphone off? Everything off? Yep. Oh yeah, everything is. So we talked a little bit about it, and they kept it in there. So the first thing I know, that thing aired, and Don's secretary or something called me and said, well, you can't put that thing in the show. We're gonna have your part in the show, but we can't have that whole thing in the show. Even Don called me. He said, we can't say that in the show. They say, what? What did I do? I don't even know what I said to the guys, It wasn't supposed to be on there. So then I played, a couple of years later, I played a gig at Jack's Sugar Shack, if you know where that is, corner of Hollywood and Vine. And Phil came to it, and he came up to me and he said, Ron, I really appreciate what you did on it, because he heard the whole interview. He said, I really appreciate somebody finally told the truth. And that was his words, man.
Yeah.
Somebody finally told the truth. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That made me feel good, man.
That's terrific. Yeah, he mentioned the same story to me and mentioned your name. So when he gave a compliment, as you know, he meant it. It was
yeah.
And then you went on after some time and played with Donald after that for a little while.
I did.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, it was over, and my band was there, and he kind of enjoyed himself as much as he could for that last show. It was just getting it done. Mm-hmm. And then, he called me over a few times. I went over there, and I said, if you want to sing, if you want to do anything, all you got to do is come out there. The band is there on Tuesday nights, and all you got to do is just, if you feel you're in the audience, and I'll have a guitar up there tuned, and if you feel like getting up and singing a song, do it. And if you don't feel like, just drink more beer. Have one for me. And so he came out and he got up and he started enjoying it, and he did the whole night. He just did the whole night. So he said, what I'll do is, he said, I'll come out there on Tuesday nights and do that thing with you, but we won't call anybody. We won't call an audience. We won't let anybody know that I'm going to be there, And and so that's the way we did it. Well, pretty soon there's 300 people on the porch trying to get into a club that holds 75 people. And it turned into a monster of a thing almost immediately.
Wow.
So
that sounds like fun.
He was happy with that part, and that was going on. And then of course, they start hearing about it in Hollywood. And maybe you might want to ask me some more questions, or I could keep on going with this story. And I mean,
Sure.
it turned into it.
Please.
Oh, it turned into a mighty monster. And I tell you what, you would not believe how cruel the music business is in Los Angeles. It's just unbelievable. And I don't know. I don't think I should do this live. In fact, I won't. But I'll
Okay.
tell you sometime. I'll
All
tell
right.
you
I
exactly
appreciate that.
what they did.
Yeah.
What they did to him.
Wow. Yeah, that needs to be told too. Well, if you wouldn't mind, I wanted to talk about you as a songwriter too, and talk about, you've written some giant hit songs, and I wanted to hear about,
Well,
that process and how you like songwriting and how the particularly Toein the Line came to be, with Rocky Burnette and all that stuff. If you could kind of lead in as to when you started writing and where it went.
getting back to Don. Don's the one that encouraged me. And he encouraged me like this. I wrote a song because of them called Dreamin'. Not dream, but dreamin'. And
Yeah.
and it's exactly what they were. And he says, man, you got to keep on writing. You just got to keep on writing. And I said, I'll tell you the secret to writing. You got to wade through the bad shit to get to the good. And that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind writing a bad song after that. Just trying to get to the real good one, And Tired of Toein the Line wasn't the best song on that album, and wasn't the best song that Rocky ever wrote me. Every song I ever wrote with Rocky was wrote in my house, 5017 Clavel Court, Woodland Hills. Yeah, and every one of those songs was wrote in that house, and there was a lot of them. There's a lot of them nobody ever heard.
Yeah.
So and we'll never hear,
Yeah.
So that was how that started.
Do you remember writing that song?
Which one?
Yeah. No, the Toein the Line. Do you remember when that came together?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. That was something. But I can't tell you on this thing here and tell you exactly what happened, because it's there's got to be some fun in some of this. It can't all be negative. But that was from Another Negative Shot, and a song stolen from me, and my determination to make up for that song. The song Glenn Campbell recorded the song that had been stolen from me, and instead of Toein the Line, it was changed to We All Toe the Load. And but it was Toein the Line. That was the first Toein the Line. So Rocky was with me when I walked into to this guy's, I'm not going to say it, to this guy's house, and laying on the counter was a check from Glenn Campbell for $1,200 for We All Toe the Load. And I'm looking at that going, like, I didn't say a word.
Oh.
I'm looking at that going, son of a bitch, And so I told Rocky on the way home when I driving him home, and I told him what happened. I said, there's that Glenn Campbell check for a song that I wrote on there. I'm going home and I'm going to rewrite that song. Instead of We All Toe the Load, it's going to be Tired of Toein the Line. And so then he came in the next day with a verse.
Nice.
And that's how it got wrote. Wrote in one day.
Wow. And you guys knew it was something, I'm sure.
Well, I'll tell you, the producers and the big wheels that turn the thing, they knew more about it than we were. We would have went with Clowns in Outer Space, but Toein the Line, it turned into a monster. It really did. I mean, they tell me that when the wall came down, the Germans used it as a rallying song, and now China has it. And is it going to be their rallying song, Yeah, so they've made a dance. They've made a dance of it.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song. It really is. Did you go on YouTube and see what China did? The Beijing?
I didn't see that yet, but I'm going to do that.
Yeah, Rocky Burnette, Tired of Toeing the Line, Beijing style. They did a dance to it, and they don't do the whole
Wow.
song, but it's on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. I will
Anyway,
check that
so
out. But I before talking to you, I had no idea that I had one of your songs on my playlist as, one of my all-time, 80s
yeah,
favorites. That's just it's just such a simple, great song. And so
it
pleased to know that
really,
you were part of it.
yeah, it really is, and it's a great production. So Bill House.
And then tell me about Somebody Wins, Somebody Loses with Rosie Flores, because I love that song as well. I don't know why that wasn't a bigger monster than it was. That's such a great song.
Right. Somebody loses somebody. Alan Laney, I thought he was one of the best country singers I ever heard in my life. And I was at Billy Graham's place in Nashville, and Alan Laney comes in the door, and we just sat down and we just started writing, and that's the first thing that came off the line, and it came off the line really fast. Somebody loses,
Wow.
somebody wins. Yes, and Rosie should have had and that's what the music business is. I mean, it's the luck of the draw. If you can get the right people at the right time behind you, then you're gonna get it, And I'm
Yeah.
sure the Everly Brothers went through that. I mean, how could they be denied another hit song through all of those years? It's like I thought it's impossible. That can't happen. And it did. And it's
I know.
because of the
But
business. Had nothing to do with talent, had nothing to do with the energy and all that. It was just the business. And that's the business
yeah.
I'm talking about that they gave Don before he left LA.
Yeah. I know you're absolutely right. We just did an episode, I don't know if I sent it to you, that on exactly that, hit songs that were, everything was there for the person, but it wasn't the people weren't behind it. It wasn't the right moment. And then the next person that came along has a smash, and it's just so, it's heartbreaking. It really is. But that's fantastic. Well, I mean, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Ron, but I want to say what an honor and pleasure it is to talk to you today. And I'm definitely going to come up there with my wife and kids, if you don't mind, and visit you and Heidi and Deb and all the rest, and shake your hand. I'd love to.
Well, this has been my honor. I'm with royalty now, and I know it. And if you understand what I'm talking about, you should see. Hey, look at this. Can anybody see that?
Oh yeah.
Look at that. That's royalty, man. Yeah. Hey, but look at this.
Well,
look at this now. Look at this one. Hold on.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I love that.
You see that belt?
I love that.
You see that belt on
Yeah.
Don? They stole it from him in Germany. When we were in Germany, he was changing clothes.
What?
Getting new pants for the night, and somebody stole that belt from him, man. They might as well have cut all of his hair off. It wouldn't have been any worse for him,
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I hope.
No,
I hope you can come up here.
Thank you so much, Ron. I can't tell you what an honor and a pleasure it is, and appreciate you sharing this. I know it's been a long time, but there's not many people, unfortunately, that can tell it the way it was, and I think it's important that people get a chance to hear this stuff. And, another reason to talk about the Everly Brothers and all the people that played with them and the great songwriters. So thank you so much. And we will speak to you soon.
I'm glad I had a chance to explain all that to you. All right. Bye-bye.